With me now is MS Now congressional reporter Michael Schnell, along with Jennifer Freeman, senior counsel at Marsh Law Firm, child sex abuse attorney who represents Epstein survivors. Jennifer, just pull back the curtain for us. Tell us what your clients are feeling ahead of this confirmation hearing.
A lot of frustration, Alicia, and it's good to be with you. I really am they're very concerned that this confirmation hearing is going forward, and we want answers to questions like, what did they do to comply with the act? There was a complete illusion of transparency from the outset with the grand jury, with a request by Todd Blanche to release the grand jury documents when he knew full well that that was not likely to succeed. And then when the Epstein Files Transparency Act passed, there was an illusion of compliance with the act, with the over-redaction of not failure to redact victim identifying information and the over-redaction of those who shouldn't have been redacted, like the co-conspirators, and the under-redaction of those who are the survivors and their identifying information. So survivors really want answers.
I am sure they do. Michael, we know there are Republican senators who are not a firm yes here on Blanche. Do we know what type of promises, commitments, concessions they are looking to get from him?
Yeah, Alicia, I think it could cover a lot of ground, including Epstein. Todd Blanche was, of course, the one who had met with Ghislaine Maxwell before that prison transfer. Also worth noting that when former Attorney General Pam Bondi had spoken to the House Oversight Committee behind closed doors, she testified that it was Todd Blanche who was in charge of the rollout of the Epstein files. And as was noted, there were issues with that. So there could be some interesting clarity on the Epstein front. There could also be wanting for more information on that anti-weaponization fund, maybe more of a firm understanding from Todd Blanche that it is indeed dead. He has, of course, said it in the past, but some lawmakers have said that just words are not enough. They want it written down in paper or another way. There could also be some questions about that IRS settlement, particularly with a judge saying that it was suspect today. So in light of that news, that's an area of concern. And then just the independence of the person like an attorney general. Todd Blanche, it is not lost on Republicans that he was formerly the president's personal attorney, and there are a number of Republicans who want to ensure that he is now going to be an independent attorney general and not be acting as the president's attorney. We've heard this from somebody like Bill Cassidy, the Republican from Louisiana. We've also heard it from Tom Tillis and John Cornyn. They are two in particularly important Republicans here because they sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, so they'll have an opportunity to actually question Todd Blanche when he faces senators on Wednesday. So certainly a lot of areas that folks are going to want to hear about, and those questions are going to finally come on Wednesday.
I think about the billboards that are going up, Jennifer, in North Carolina for Tillis, in Texas for Cornyn, in Louisiana for Kennedy. I think we all understand how these pressure campaigns are structured, right? That folks who care about this, there's a huge community of people all across this country who do feel that the Epstein survivors have been failed by multiple governments, most recently by the Trump administration. They want to see accountability. The hope is they pick up the phone, they call their U.S. senator and say, hey, we're finally at an inflection point where you have the power to do something about this and hold the person accountable, both who has overseen the release of these files and who in his future post would have the ability to do that. Have the survivors you've spoken with received any commitments from these Republican senators that they plan to really press Blanche on his handling of the Epstein files or on the role he played in getting Ghislaine Maxwell transferred?
I haven't heard of any serious commitments, but I have heard that they're listening. And I think that's a very important piece here. The other piece I wanted to mention, because no one really talks about it, is there's a whole nother class of Epstein survivors that no one ever considers. And those are the survivors, the victims of child pornography. The government, Todd Blanche and others, have failed those people also who have not even been identified. We know there are hundreds of thousands of videos, but we don't know who they are. So how can they have a voice if they're not even identified?
Jennifer, I've only got about 30 seconds left, but I just wonder emotionally just how challenging it has been for the survivors that you speak with on a regular basis. There have been so many iterations of this road to accountability.
It's repeatedly triggering for many of them to continue to face these battles, but I have to give them so much credit. They're strong, they're brave, they're courageous, and they're committed to doing the very best they can to serve their interests and the interests of the American public for transparency and accountability, because that's what's needed here.